Welcome to the Healing Room. I'm Lavonda Handy, licensed marriage and family therapist and founder of Truth Center for Health and Healing. This podcast is a space where we slow down, get honest, and reflect on truths that shape us. Here, you'll find real conversations, solo reflections, and stories that center healing culturally, personally, and collectively. And just so we're clear, this podcast isn't therapy, and I'm not your therapist. My hope is that every time you leave this space, you'll feel empowered, seen, and inspired to keep growing. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Now let's get into it. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Healing Room. I am Lavonda Handy, licensed marriage and family therapist and founder of Truth Center for Health and Healing. If you have been with us since the beginning, you know that I am sharing my story with you all, and not just my story as a therapist, but my therapist as a human being, and what it means to fully grow and fully heal and continue to evolve even as we hit new levels. And today's episode is about growth, and growth that just doesn't happen when we're ready, but growth happens when we're not ready, because life gives us no other choice. And sometimes growth comes from desperation, sometimes growth comes from fear, and then sometimes growth comes from surrender. And we often think it happens in like really, really calm seasons, but I have to tell you, right? The calm seasons look like, oh, we're journaling, we're exercising, we're reflecting, and we're planning, and we're hoping that like our intentionality in that moment allows us to just get to a new level. Reality is that growth really does not typically happen there. It usually happens in moments um, when we're not really ready. We're not really ready for that transformation. Growth happens in moments when possibly we have felt like we're failing and we're not doing our best and we don't have the best energy and we're not showing up for ourselves or the people around us as we thought, as we wanted to, rather. But those become the exact moments, the soil that we need to like place our roots in as a place to grow and a place to really heal. And it's going to look like chaos. It's going to look like disappointment. It's literally going to feel like the rug has been pulled out from underneath of us. And I really want to share with you all a story of my own, right? Of when the moment when I truly had to surrender myself as to who I was supposed to be. And this is really interesting. If you've also been listening, you know that last episode I shared about I had a really long time in family-based intensive and home therapy work. And it's where I've cultivated a lot of who I am and my character as a human being and as a therapist. Let me be fully transparent. There was one family-based experience that was not the best for me. I had gotten to a place in my life where I was going back and forth between being a fitness instructor. At once, I was doing a multi level marketing program where I met my wonderful husband, but I needed to get back and fully into the mental health field. And this was a nice opportunity for me to do that. And when I got there, of course, initially I had interviewed for a position to just be a field therapist, someone that works in the field and goes into people's homes. But very quickly, I was able to recognize that one, there was an opportunity for growth here. And they were looking for a lead supervisor and then eventually a supervisor. And I put myself in, the running, right? And I became a supervisor. I was so excited to be in this new position. It also meant that I had access to other family based trainings just for supervisors. So I was able to truly get the growth and knowledge from other leaders that taught other therapists how to help the clientele that we were helping. So I was really impressed with myself of taking that risk on myself. And when I got that position, I was also able to see and be with clinicians in a different way. And that was the most powerful thing for me. I got to pour into others and give to others what I was able to give or get myself when I was just coming up as a newbie clinician. But here's the thing, I was at this place for maybe a year or two, and I got to this position of supervisor. And there were some logistic things that had occurred where I was at one of the locations and then I needed to move to the other. And when I got to that other location, and this is a whole other topic, I had been at three different locations where I was a supervisor. And if anybody knows this, sometimes they send Black women in to save the day. And at this moment, there was one of the locations that was struggling. So I went over there. I supported the other supervisor that was there. And it was just like we worked as a really great team. She was an incredible clinician. And then the team was that the staff that was there, they were also great clinicians, but maybe just some more stability and leadership because sometimes when we were away from the main location, it was a little bit more of isolation that existed. Bam, boom, great. I did amazing over at that location. And then they popped me over to another location where it was struggling to keep staff. And we're like, what is happening here? Why are there no staff here? Why are people leaving? It was a very difficult place. So once again, I was moved there with hopes to improve this location and its ability to retain clinicians. And some reason, one, I wasn't getting any good applicants into the door. So that was a struggle. And the people that were already there were already out the door. So it didn't matter how Lavonda would show up to pour into them and love on them and give them the good, like clinical supervision that was necessary. It didn't matter. And the supervisor that they had before that wasn't bad either. So it didn't work out, right? So then they moved me to a fourth location where there was already two other supervisors, but one of the supervisors then became the assistant director. And actually, maybe there wasn't two supervisors just yet. The third supervisor that came in after I was promoted. But now I was helping out at this location and the other location. So now I had two locations where I was supervising clinicians. So I had to go back and forth between those locations. I don't know if you're listening or you're hearing what's happening here, but I'm being popped around to many places. And at this point of my career, I'd taken my exam two times. I had not passed. I had not passed. And I had kind of given up on myself to pass my exam because I was like, oh, I'm in a position where there is some movement. I can move up here, or maybe I just find another position where there was a director or a supervisor role. But I felt good at the work that I was doing. So I had kind of gotten comfortable with the position that I was in my career. But as you can see, the agency that I was working for, there were some logistical things that were occurring that just were like, I was just popping around to many different locations. And as I was in that position, I had set up a meeting with the director and the general manager because I was like, I need to know what's happening here. What is going on? And I need some help or some support of how to navigate this. And when I walked into that meeting, I was not prepared for what was about to happen. I walked in with a plan, ready to be open, to be honest, to kind of develop some goals together. They walked in and demoted me back to a field placement person, someone that went back into homes to do the clinical work on that end. Now, granted, I am a very good therapist and I'm great at doing clinical work, but I had worked my way up to be the supervisor position and I was demoted. And I was demoted over the person that I had got in my position before. And the person before me who got the supervising position after me, She just so happened to be at the company longer. And so that was the moment of complete change for me. That was the moment that I had to really look within myself to say, like, okay, girl, this is not it, right? Because at that point, the rug did get pulled from under me completely. And they were like, oh, we'll keep your salary, da 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 da. But here's what I take away from that: they wanted me out that door. They wanted to push me away. And you know how I knew that tactic? Because I had had a conversation with the director about other clinicians to do this. So I already knew how they worked. It should have been a red flag. It should have been a red flag when I first had my interview and I had been talking to one of my coworkers and I had all these new refreshing ideas. And I was like, oh, we should do it this way or we should do it that way. And she goes, girl, you can't do that here. I was already being silenced in that moment. Already. And so when they pulled that rug out from under me and demoted me, here's the thing. I has begun to learn that I don't move on nobody's time but my own. That is me from since I was a child. You can ask my mother, you can ask my husband, you can ask anyone around me. I move at my own pace. No problem. Every day I had to take a moment to surrender in that moment. It was time to get my license. No problem. I'm going to try again. So what did I do? I called a mentor. Hey, mentor, I failed this exam twice. What am I doing wrong? I got some coaching. 2, I still needed a job. So I showed up every day on point to be the best clinician for the clients because those are the people that matter. I did my supervision. They tried to correct me in supervision around how do you think you're supposed to show up? I know the work that I'm doing as well. My emotions, my feelings, y'all don't have to worry about that. I got this part. And then I would show up because the space of work was not a positive space. I had to look at the clinicians that I was supervising that I'm now back their peers. They months studying every single day. Every day I studied for at least an hour. I set my little space up. I really honed in on giving myself affirmations to remind myself of who I am because I didn't get to supervisor position just by working somewhere for a long time. I had the skill. I had the knowledge. And then every day I would still have to show up to work. So every day when I went to the gym, I had a specific playlist that I would listen to at the start of my workout, at the start of my day, because then it inspired me to stay focused, to stay on point, and not give in to any negative energy that I felt was coming my way. Right. In that moment, I had to surrender and lean into what was meant for me. And I did that. And guess what? Your girl passed that exam. Okay. And with flying colors, with flying colors. It was absolutely amazing. And I've never been so proud of myself. Right. And then I had to wait a little bit longer because your homegirl had to find another job. And she did. And she did. And that is how I had my second stint of private practice in a group where I really just began to learn the tactics. And once again, like 2020 was happening. So it was just really a natural opportunity for me to start my own practice. But I've started at a group first, right? I got to get my feet wet. I got to know what's happening. I have to ease into it, especially after being in a position where the rug was pulled out from me and I had to surrender to what my real potential was. Because I was fighting, clearly, I was fighting it. Clearly, I was fighting it. And so here's what I want you all to take away from this. Because I think this is the biggest point of where everything has to slow down. And you have to consider that surrendering is not weakness. It does not mean giving up. It's what's meant for you. When you truly surrender to the process of what your next level is, because I am sure that you have seen what your next level was. And then for some reason you're like, I'm not ready. Or you're like, I can't do that, right? You've already counted yourself out, or you've tried and you failed. But isn't that the point of it all? Everything is not an immediate success. We try and we fail, we try and we fail, and practice makes improvement. Just like this podcast, this whole new thing is something that is completely new for me. And every time I sit down at this desk and I'm like, I have this beautiful idea, I start recording, and then I listen back to the recording and I'm like, I don't know about that one, girl. But if I do not even try it, I'm missing out on opportunities to give to people who could benefit from my experience or whatever you have to offer. There is some value that you have to offer. Let's lean into that. So here's what I want you all to sit with. And I'm going to read directly from my notes because I think this is something that is really important. When you allow yourself to truly, truly surrender, when you don't consider it weakness, when you don't get blocked by fear, when you don't get blocked by other people's voices, you'll be able to begin to trust that what is meant for you will not miss you. Okay? And this is a reminder that you have to show up for it. You have to show up for it every single time. I didn't know that I had to be demoted to get where I am today. I didn't know I had to experience that, right? And sometimes that's that's the path that we're sent on. I had to be demoted, and now I'm a licensed therapist. I'm the founder of True Center for Health and Healing. I'm a supervisor pouring into other folks, and I'm a person that is grounded in my truth. And I'm living authentically all the time. All the time. So maybe you're in that place right now. Maybe something didn't go the way that you hoped. Maybe you've been trying to figure out what is that next step, or do you have to let go or keep pushing? Here's a reminder. Growth comes out of desperation, fear, or surrender. And all of them can lead to your breakthrough. The only job that you have is to stay open to it, to stay curious, and to keep showing up for yourself. So I have a little bit of homework. Take 10 minutes this week to reflect on one area of your life where you might be ready or resisting growth. Ask yourself, what am I holding on to that no longer serves me? What might surrender look like here? What could grow if I finally let this go? Then share your reflections. You can share them on Instagram with me. You can share them on our YouTube channel. Anywhere that you can get in contact with me, I want to know. I want to know what reflections and what thoughts and feelings have come up for you in this moment. And hashtag the Healing Room Podcast. I'd love to know what surrender is teaching you. Thank you for joining me in the Healing Room today. Remember, this space is not therapy, and I'm not your therapist. This is a place for truth, reflection, and community. And if this episode resonates with you, please, 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 please share it with someone who's learning to surrender and grow through their own season. Until next time, keep honoring your truth. Thanks for joining me in the Healing Room. If today's conversation spoke to you, be sure to follow, rate, and share the podcast with someone who could use a little healing too. Remember, This space is for reflection and inspiration, not therapy. If you need support, please connect with a licensed provider in your area. To learn more about me and my team, visit truthcenterhh.com. Until next time, keep honoring your truth.